All right, good afternoon, STEAM Lab students. We are working on making model rockets, and we need to have for our structural components a body tube, nose cone, fins, and launch lugs. You've made a nose cone at this point. Now we need to work on the fins. And so first of all, you need to think about how many fins you want. Do you want 3 fins, 4 fins, possibly more than 4 fins, but usually 3 or 4 fins. You need to think about the shape of them, and then also you need to think about how to attach them once you have 3D printed them. And so first of all, a few years ago, we worked on rockets, and this student did not do a very good job, but they did cut some fins out of balsa wood, and then they did attach them with glue to the outside of the body tube. That's one option. You can 3D print your fins after you design them, and then you can glue them on. Personally, I don't think that's the easiest to get it looking good and getting everything lined up. You can also 3D print, but then the question is, what is a different way to attach them? So one idea is just like the nose cone, you have a piece that kind of slides into the body tube, and you can do that. So you have part of your fins, okay? So let's look at this, and then we have a body tube, and then it slides in there and then attaches. So that's one idea. You could also move, have some that slides in there and then have the rest of your fins, most of them kind of sticking up. That's an option. Another idea is that you could have the fins on the outside of your body tube, so that way the body tube slides into kind of like a cylinder with your fins. The problem with that is you got to think about drag, and the more that can catch wind is going to create more drag and wind resistance, and it's going to slow your rocket down and it won't go so high. But perhaps you could kind of have it taper, and so that way the air flows over it more smoothly. So those are a couple of things to think about. However, if you have your fins, pretend that these are the fins, going inside the body tube, you got to think about, you also need to have a rocket engine in there. So it can't be solid. You also have to think about how this is all going to fit together so you can design it properly. So you're going to have an engine. It's going to look like this, and it's going to go in the body tube. You can see that the body tube is too big for this engine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this engine and we're going to put it in a small tube like this. There's going to be a clip that's attached. I'll show you how to do that later. But it's going to go inside this body tube. It's going to fit in there, okay? There's going to be a little clip in there to hold it in, and you can space it out different ways, but it's going to go in there. All right, this right here is going to be too small to fit in here, so that's going to flop around. We need something to kind of hold it sturdy. So with our with this engine tube thing, you're going to have these engine rings, these spacing rings that fit over this, and then they slide in here nice and tight, and it spaces it out. So it's going to look like this, where you have two. Now, you're going to glue them on so they're not moving around, but you have the ability to kind of space these in different ways. You could have one closer to the bottom, and then this one is going to be closer to the top. Part of this has to do with the clip that we put on here. I'll talk to you about that later. But again, we can kind of space them in different ways. So what we could do perhaps is we could have this one kind of go up here, all right, a little bit higher. And then this one could be, somewhere around like that. You'll glue it in, but this is gonna slide into this body tube like this, all right? Now it's has a nice snug fit, but you can see that by moving that spacing tube up a little bit higher, you now have a gap. And then this, when you create your fins, that can slide in there, and this is made for a smaller body tube. But basically that can go in there, and it can kind of fit in that gap between the engine mounting tube and then the body tube of your rocket. So that's one idea. And yeah, those are the basics for how you're gonna design your rocket. When I say rocket, those are the basics for how you're going to design your fins.